Okay, we good, you guys? Can you hear me okay?
All right, Coach, if we're all good, we'll
Okay.
start with questions and we'll start with James Crepia from the Oregonian.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll get it out of the way. The latest on, I'm guessing that Niara would be the one in terms of closest to actually returning, though. So starting with her, and then just the timetable, is it still a couple of weeks away for Tahina, and obviously India further off, but Tahina and Niara at this point?
Yeah, James, unfortunately, that's not correct. Niara is, for the foreseeable future, I'm not even going to put a timeline on it. We're hoping on all of them by Christmas. The only good news we have is Big B will be back, for tomorrow's game. She's practiced the last couple of days. Niara just had an MRI yesterday. And we're still weeks out on that one. I wish I had better news, big guy. We were hoping the same thing. India gets her cast off today. She'll have a few weeks of rehab. And then Tahina is kind of already progressing in her rehab. There's an outside chance that we get them for the Midwest trip. My guess is Pac-12 opener. I've been more forthright today than I've normally, because I actually have more answers for you today, fortunately. But it's still an unfortunate situation. We have some pretty good players sitting on the bench.
Howard
It's all right, though. I need help. There's a lot of our fans probably think I need some additional coaching help, so that's a good thing.
Howard Megdal.
Hey, Kelly, good to see you.
too.
Wondering, out of the last couple of games, what were your biggest takeaways, just writ large, haven't been able to go through the video, and specifically on the offensive end, what you think, what adjustments you need to make? Because obviously putting up numbers in the 60s, very unlike your Oregon teams in general.
Well, first and foremost, the margin of error is a lot smaller. You look at the players that we were missing, those were 4 of our playmakers. So we've got, in essence, I wouldn't say role players, but we have players that aren't used to having the ball in their hands, making plays for others, that are in a position to have to make plays for others. And that made it a little more difficult. And at times the ball stuck a little bit too much. Hopefully we'll be better in tomorrow's game at just ball movement. But you take somebody, the first game showed how important Niara is to us. She was a secondary ball handler against pressure. She can obviously make plays in the half court, not only for herself, but for others. And so, that went away, and we just gotta, and I think we'll be better. I think our offense will be a little bit more fluid. We added a couple of things to make it so there will be a lot more point A to point B to point C kind of action, as opposed to read and react and play. So, we've tried to remedy it. We'll see, if it is indeed a little bit better.
Appreciate it.
Eric Scopel, 247 Sports.
Coach, I was just going to ask if there's an update for us on Taylor Hosendove at all, if we have any clarity.
No, but I think we're in that window now where we should get an answer within the next, it could be right now as we speak. So
Okay.
We're very hopeful. Yes, it is. It's in the very last stage. And so we could hear any time now on Taylor.
And then can I ask just really quick, just how is Maddie handled? That was a tough game she had against South Florida. The ball handlers in general, just how have the last, I guess, what has it been, 10 days or so gone in terms of keeping confidence high, but also working on improving there? Because that was, I think, a pretty clear issue in that game.
Yeah, well, if the last couple of days in practice are any indication, Maddie's going to be fine. I think she just had a tough weekend overall, and it showed in her play. But we have great confidence, man. Maddie's a heck of a player. She's been, to be honest with you, with and without Indy and Pau and the other guards, she's been our most consistent player all summer and all fall. She had a pretty tough weekend, but she's a competitor and she's going to bounce back. I have a ton of confidence in her.
James.
I'll kind of follow on both of those, Kelly. One on the Hosendove timeline, just because we're nearing the end of your academic term, is that a factor in this? in some way?
I don't know what you mean on that. I don't know. I think once we get an answer, regardless of the timetable, wouldn't she be eligible to play?
That's what that's what I'm asking. Like, to me, she's not a mid-year transfer in the first place, so I don't know why it would, but I don't believe in coincidence when you're only like 10 days away from the end of the term. I didn't know if that was part of the timeline, part of the thing.
Yeah, no, I'm hopeful, man. We can really use her. She's tearing us up in practice. We have her playing with the guys, and she's the best one on that side. So be nice if she was playing for us.
Then to follow what Eric was talking about with Maddie, since that was more of a impromptu situation and the 120 and the whole bit, you're not looking for it. It's not ideal, but because you're talking about an 18-day stretch of 4 games, is this allowing for more time to work out kinks in practice that you didn't necessarily have prior to the Bahamas?
Exactly, James. Exactly. That got on us really quick, and to play the competition we did with no practice, mind you. You play a really good Oklahoma team, and they're going to prove me right. That's going to end up being a good win. They're a good team. And then, oh yeah, by the way, tomorrow you play South Carolina without Niara and the rest. And then, oh, by the way, with no more prep, you've got South Florida, a really good team. They beat Stanford a couple of days later. So, listen, UC Davis is a good team, but at least we've had a few days to prepare for UC Davis. Like I said, Taylor's back, and just one extra player in the backcourt really changes things. And Taylor has looked good in practice. She's different than the other players we have. She can play downhill. She's really good in the ball screen, and she's a good defender, another long body that can actually guard, 4 different positions. So that's a big get to have her back. She's not 100%, but 75 or 80%, whatever she's at, is still pretty good. So yeah, I think we've had a time to just kind of figure things out a little bit more. And like I said, I think the guard spot will be, again, one of our strengths.
Antoine State, the register guard.
Speaking on UC Davis, just kind of what you see from them and just how you match up with them.
Well, they gave us everything we could handle here last year. That game could have gone either way. I think we won it in the last 30 seconds. And they have basically the same team back. Sierra Hall is one of the best players on the West Coast. She'd be a really good player in the Pac-12. Stobart inside, same thing. Those kids can play. I'm really impressed. And now, spur of the moment, the name escapes me, but number 23, the lefty, she's a really good player, can shoot it, can drive it. So they have good personnel, a great coach. They know how to win. Again, winning the Big West last year, getting NCAA tournament experience, predicted to win it again. And it's just a really, really good program. When you schedule these games, you go, wow, this is going to be a really, really tough game, even if we are at full strength. And now that we're, not, it makes it even tougher. So our margin for error isn't as great. The reason I love playing UC Davis is A, they're going to play hard. B, they're going to play smart. C, they're going to play together. And D, they play a lot like Stanford and Colorado, a lot of teams that run that same style of offense. And so it gives us good preparation for when we meet those teams later on.
Eric.
Coach, I was going to ask about defense in particular. I know you said before the season started, you were taking on a little bit larger role and kind of figuring out some of that stuff. First couple games at home seemed like that was good. What was your assessments on the road at the Bahamas, and kind of what's the through line been defensively? Like, what kind of players maybe have kind of been instrumental on positives, and what are some areas of growth needed?
Well, not just on the defensive end. Who I was really impressed with down on the islands? I thought Elise Hurst really played well. And regardless of when everybody comes back, she's going to be somebody that's going to be in our rotation. There's no question about it. Defensively, I think she took 4 charges down there, did a great job. She's really got great feet and is a good on-ball defender. I also like what Shania Pinto did in her energy, and especially defensively did a really good job. I think overall, it was a struggle. We're not the kind of team that's built for back-to-back games like that. I think we were the type of team that needs preparation. We play to a scout. It's good for us to be able to work through stuff, because we're just physically, we're not the quickest team. We don't have a specific style. We're without some of our length, but no, I think defensively we're still a work in progress. We've had some good stretches and some bad stretches. One of the things that I really liked out of our trip to the islands, in all 3 games, you guys, we finished strong. You know, unfortunately, the last 2 opponents, we'd dug too big a hole to make the comeback. And unfortunately, against Oklahoma, we were able to. I think we had a double-digit deficit in the 4th quarter and came back and won that game. So our kids are fighting. They're fighting hard. And, you know, I just think we need to have that same kind of intensity and focus right from the get-go, play that hard early in the games. And we didn't the last couple. I think we're going to just be better all the way around. I think we've been able to regroup this last few days. And I gave them the weekend off. We had Thanksgiving off, and that's always a good thing. I think rest.
James.
Wanted just a really extremely wide angle view, Kelly, because I realize like so much of what we've unfortunately so much of what we talked about the last month is who's hurt and dealing with the issue and the fire of the day. But you certainly appreciate the very big picture here. There's still a long way to go. With that, though, not just you guys, you know, UCLA is dealing with this too, of a lot of injuries, and the conference is taking a lot of lumps right now, other than Arizona playing well. Stanford has had some ups and downs. As competitive as the league is taking some real lumps here, where you understand that comes now it's going to be Selection Sunday. Actually, it's not Selection Monday anymore. But come that day, the league may not have a 1 or a 2 seed line after all this, but there's still obviously significance to everything going on. So basically, like, how do you start to shift and adapt to what the big picture still is? Yes, there's still a full league schedule. There's still opportunity.
Yeah.
But we're not talking the same lens of, oh, there's 3 teams who could be in the top 8 come selections. No, not right now. There isn't, because of everybody being hurt right now, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, I think that'll work itself out. We have a long way to go. We're all going to be playing each other too, and so we're going to get quality wins when that time comes. You're right. Yeah, the predicted top 4 teams in the conference all have 2 losses. Now, among those losses, I don't think anybody has a quote bad loss. I wouldn't consider a loss to South Carolina or even South Florida on a neutral site a bad loss for us. But you're right. I think as a conference as a whole, now I can't worry about the rest of the teams. I can only worry about mine. But you are correct, James. We do need to do better, you know, on the national stage when we have these big intersectional games. But yeah, I think a lot of the losses can be blamed on some injuries. But at the same time, you know, in the end, that doesn't really matter, right? But all I can worry about is my team and get them better. I can't worry about Stanford and who they're playing and how they're playing. But right now, I looked at the Big 12. We play Kansas State coming up, so I was just looking at the Big 12 standings, and man, they're pretty good. I mean, everybody in that conference outside of maybe 2 has either 1 loss or no losses. So I get what you're saying. All we can do is, you know, big picture, if we finish top 5 or 6 in our conference, we're in the field, right? I mean, we're in the field. We're going to have, you know, the seeds. Listen, I've one of those. I've won 8 games as a coach as a double-digit seed in my career. So seeds to me are pointless. You know, now you want a top 4 because then you're hosting. But, you know, the reality is you're going to have to play well and beat good teams.
All right, that's all we got for you, Coach.
All right, you guys. Have a great day. Thanks for hopping on.
All right. Thanks,
Be
guys.
good.